Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends Retro Collection Electro figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey I'm fucking with. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
6 figures in the wave. You do not need any of these figures to complete a Build-A-Figure. However, what could be considered the Build-A-Figure will be sold separately and released in November. And a quick look at the front of the packaging. Once again, this series is inspired by the old 90s Toybiz action figure line that was based on the Spider-Man the Animated Series show. Ironically, the Sinister Six that was featured on the show did not have Electro as part of the roster. I'll talk about that later. Alright, let's get this bad boy open and see what's what. Alright, here we go. Max Dillon, aka Electro. His bio on the back of the package reads, as the villain Electro, Max Dillon wields full control over electricity in his never-ending quest to defeat Spider-Man. Electro first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man number 9 in February of 1964. At that time, Max Dillon was just a normal guy, a construction worker. I think he was like an electrical engineer or a lineman, and he was working on some power lines and had a freak accident that granted him the ability to control electricity or turn himself into electricity. But early on, he didn't really have great control over his powers, and I think he was like stealing Stark tech or Stark electrical equipment to help like power himself and to get him going. And I guess over time he gained greater control over his powers. Now originally he was a member of the Frightful Four, and he was also a villain that faced off against Daredevil before he actually became one of Spider-Man's iconic foes, and before he became a member of where most of us probably recognize him from, the Sinister Six. The original Sinister Six consisted of Doc Ock, Mysterio, Sandman, Vulture, Craven, and Electro. However, one of the comics that I remember from many years ago that I read over and over again, it was like a 4-part or 6-part miniseries, was The Revenge of the Sinister Six. And at that time, Craven was out of commission, or maybe he was dead. I'm not 100% sure, but Hobgoblin was a member of that team in place of Craven. Now this is technically our 3rd Electro from Hasbro. After Hasbro took over the reins from Toybiz, they continued the Spider-Man Classics line for a while and were re-releasing some things from Toybiz under the Hasbro banner, but also doing some new things from Hasbro. They have released a classic style Electro in that Spider-Man Classics line that had a gimmick that was just awful that I had bought originally, but then I think I ended up getting rid of him. And then more recently in the Space Venom Build-A-Figure wave, they released a modern Electro with his more updated modern look with the bald head. They packed in a classic Electro head with that bald-headed Electro that everybody kept putting on that body that was incorrect, but we were still waiting for what we just got now in this classic Electro. If you've been on board with Hasbro, once you get this figure, you will be able to complete your classic Sinister Six. Now, if you were collecting during the Toybiz days, you did have the opportunity to complete a classic Sinister Six from Toybiz. It was a long, tedious process, but they did release Electro in the Sinister Six box set, and that was the only time that Toybiz released Electro, if I remember correctly. And correction, this is actually our 4th Electro from Hasbro. We got 3 comic-based Electro figures, and then we got the one from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie, the Jamie Foxx Electro that didn't look like Jamie Foxx at all. But that was from the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure wave. I think the figure is actually okay. I'm a little disappointed by the actual buck that they picked for this figure. Looks to me like this is the Spider UK buck, and I kind of wish they would have used the Spider-Man 2099 buck or something a little more slender with a bit more articulation. I wanted them to really crush the old Toybiz version, who had butterfly joints and had a great range of articulation. A little awkwardly sculpted maybe a little too slender, but I don't know. I guess some of the early images of him, he was a little larger than some of the more slender images of him later on. I mean, I guess he was a construction worker, and usually the depiction of a construction worker is that they're burly individuals. So I guess it could go either way. You are able to remove this head, remove the hand, so you do have options there. And again, it is the classic look, so I'm happy with that. Here's a close look at that head sculpt, and you can actually see his pupils and see his eyes. I'm making a note of that just so when I show the other head from the Space Venom Build-A-Figure Wave Electro, you can see the difference. But the eyes are painted nicely. The smile looks good. Good classic head sculpt. I don't really have an issue with the head. I think it looks fine. And out of the package, he comes with 2 fists. And he's packed in with a set of open hands with the fingers slightly spread, and you can see some electricity surging through the fingers here. This is a sculpt, a design that we've received before. In fact, we received this same sculpt and design with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Electro, as well as the more modern take on Electro from the Space Venom Build-A-Figure Wave. Just think they were colored differently before. I think we got the blue electricity, at least with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 version. So this looks good. Obviously, that gives you a little more playability, posability, adds some fun factor. On the Spider-Man the Animated Series show, the Sinister Six that was featured in those episodes included Doc Ock, Chameleon, Scorpion, Mysterio, Shocker, and Rhino. So no Electro. There was another version of Electro, a female version in Marvel Comics in the main universe, I believe. And then there was Ultimate Electro for sure. And we've seen him appear in the more recent animated show. So, you know, he's made his rounds. But again, I think his most iconic and notable look is this one here. So I'm going to actually go over the articulation real quick because I want to do some old school comparisons and some new school stuff, and I don't want to spend too much time here. Get you out of here. Do some bonus swaps that I left out from the last review. All right, so head and neck are in a ball joint. He's not going to look down as far as he can without you bending the little electric portions here on his mask. But you can get him to look down pretty far. You can get him to look up pretty far. That's great, especially because he can kind of fly, I guess you could say. Left to right, pivot, full 360. No real issues with the head. Again, you will bend these kind of out of place if you move him in any one direction too far. But with a little hot water, cold water, you can put these back into place. Shoulders, they're on a ball joint. They'll come up pretty far. You can do a full 360. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, swivel and a hinge on the wrist. Ab crunch, forward, back, waist swivel, T-joint at the pelvis, leg will come up that far, split will look like that, upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee, rotation at the shin or the calf, there is a hinge on the foot, and there is a nice pivot. So it's good articulation, but I wish that he had butterfly joints, so this is why I was kind of hoping for the Spider-Man 2099 buck, but honestly, the more I mess around with him, I'm actually kind of okay with this particular buck. All right, comparisons. So on the left is the old Toybiz Sinister Six box set Electro. That was the only way that you could get a classic Electro back in those days, but again, like I said, it was a long process for you to complete your Sinister Six through Toybiz, so you had to grab that box set in order to get Electro, and you can see how he stacks up next to this new retro collection Electro. Obviously the newer one is way buffer than this older one. I mean, that was one of the gripes even back then in those days, was that he was really slender, but the sculpt that they used, the buck that they used, was still very articulated. And then on the right is the Space Venom Build-A-Figure Wave Electro. This is a more modern look for him, and you can see they use one of the Spider-Man bucks, that slender buck, but it does have butterfly joints. It was great articulation. Now I'm remembering what else pissed me off about the Space Venom Wave Electro was that he didn't come with regular powered down hands. It was only the blue electric hands, but he did come with an extra head sculpt, and you are able to swap that onto this new Electro. Now unfortunately the yellow or the gold doesn't match up. As a matter of fact, this is more gold than it is yellow, and it doesn't match the rest of the deco here on the outfit. But I suppose you could give this a repaint so it'll match up with the yellow on the costume, because what you do have here is that the eyes are kind of whited out. It's almost like a blue hue in there actually too. So you could actually use this head sculpt for when you have him utilizing his powers in the setup, I suppose. But it does pop on the neck, and there's no issues with that. And there's a look at the two side by side, so you can see the skin tones are just a little bit different as well. I think this is the better head sculpt on the newer one. As far as the chin, you know what, it actually might be the same sculpt, but something just looks better about the newer one to me. But I do like that you do have the option if you did pick up the old Electro. So here we go with the classic Toybiz Sinister Six. So going left to right, we have Craven, who was released in the Spider-Man Classics line. Craven actually got 2 releases. I'll get back to that. Then we have Vulture, who I think is the gem out of all of these. This classic Toybiz Fearsome Foes box set Vulture is still one of Toybiz's best figures, just in terms of the detail. I love the old man look of the head. I love the look of the wings. And then we have Electro from the Sinister Six box set from Toybiz. And then we have the Series 8 Marvel Legends Doc Ock without his arms. And if you remember when I reviewed the Hasbro Doc Ock, I showed the arms from this Doc Ock onto the newer one. I don't have them on here because obviously I couldn't stand them up with all of these if I put the arms on. And then we have Mysterio, which was released in the Spider-Man Classics line as well, but he also had 2 releases. I'll get back to that. And then Sandman from the Spider-Man Classics line. So you can see how awkwardly ridiculous those all look together, but at the time, if you got these all together in a display and something dynamic, you was doing it. You was at the top of your game if you had all of these at once and could display them all together. So here's a look at the second Kraven that we received. This one was packed in the Sinister Six box set. Pretty much the same exact sculpt and design as the previous version, with just a different decal. Same sculpt, but they changed it up. They gave him some hair on his chest. They changed the pattern on his pants, gave him a different head sculpt, changed up the skin tone a bit. He looks very red, very angry. They changed up the color on his armbands as well, and changed up the look of the vest a little bit. And then this was the second release of Mysterio. Hasbro had put out a couple of lines where, again, they were just repurposing figures from Toybiz, from the Toybiz days, and repackaging them and putting them out again under the Hasbro banner. And they had a Spider-Man Origins line where they were doing some of the old Toybiz figures, and they re-released this Mysterio without the light up gimmick from the original Mysterio, which I'll show in 1 second. It still retained the same little gimmick feature where you could turn the heads, and they changed on the inside of there. Give you a good look at that. So yeah, you could change it from his regular face to like a mutated baby into some ghoul, and that was that. But the original figure had that same gimmick, but it actually lit up, and the light still works after all of these years. It's dimly lit, but it's there. You couldn't just pull the helmet off of this one. I don't know if my other one was broken or not, but this helmet is kind of glued on there. You can't get it off, maybe because of the light up feature. The one that was released the second time, you could pull the helmet off. You could see the deco was different. This was more green. The other one was kind of like a aquamarine green or something. And the gloves were different. These are yellow as opposed to the gold highlights. So not bad. And just a closer look at that Vulture. Again, look at the detail on these wings. I'm pretty sure I may have shown this already. I guess when I reviewed the other Vulture. Did I review that figure? I don't even know. But if I didn't, here it is. Toybiz at its finest right here. I don't know, man. I don't want to destroy this figure, but I'd love to take this head off of here and maybe put this on a new like Stan Lee body or something to have Vulture in regular street clothes. If I had another one of these, I would. And here we are in 2020, finally completing our modern but old school Hasbro Marvel Legends Sinister Six. And I must say, they all look pretty damn good together. Now, I do have my issues. I do have my gripes with this grouping here, but it does feel good to finish a team through Hasbro as well. So, I mean, if you were still a sperm when the Toybiz Sinister Six was complete, or if you were a toddler, then you had no chance at doing this. So going left to right, on the far left is Craven from the Craven and Black Suit Spider-Man 2-pack. Now, there were 2 Cravens, the first of which was released in the Rhino Build-A-Figure wave. That version was a more modern version, really wouldn't go with the classic Sinister Six, so that's why I have the classic Craven lined up with the group back there. And to talk about Craven a bit more actually too, this Craven is very nice. I like the sculpt. It's definitely better than the old Toybiz one in terms of sculpt design, but the one thing that I really hated about this particular design was those cankles. They got the whole lower leg portion kind of screwed up, and they've done that with a couple of different figures, including Venom, and you know, that lower leg sculpt is horrendous. But overall, this Craven is absolutely better than the original Toybiz one. And then we've got Vulture from the Demo Goblin Build-A-Figure wave. You saw how nice the old Toybiz Vulture is. Still rivaling this Hasbro one in my opinion. These wings do not stack up next to the old Toybiz Vulture wings. I do like this head. I like that kind of smirk. I like the gray eyebrows. I like the little old man splotches on his head. I do like all of that stuff. They definitely could have given us some updated body mold for Vulture, at the very least, going the distance and giving us really nice wings. And then we've got Electro from this retro collection wave. No question, he's better than any other Electro we've received, any other classic Electro or movie Electro. He's taking a cake, but I do wish that he had, at the very least, had butterfly joints. Doc Ock is from the mechanical spider Build-A-Figure wave, and this is a very nice buck for Doc Ock. Definitely the correct size and stature. I like the head sculpt, I like the colors, but they dropped the ball on those arms. So Toybiz still has a little bit of an edge, but overall the Hasbro version is the better, no question. And then we have Mysterio from the Lizard Build-A-Figure wave, and this is definitely one of the best figures out of that wave, one of the best figures from that year. No question, it's better than both of the Toybiz versions or any versions that have come before. This is a good figure. I just kind of wish they would have done something better with the cape, or maybe added in some other interchangeable hands. The fact that you can take the cape and the fishbowl off and swap on your own heads and do your own thing definitely is better than that kind of gimmick that we had on the old Toybiz one. So that's a step in the right direction, but I do feel like this figure is crushing the old one. And finally, on the far right is the Sandman Build-A-Figure, which I think is a good Build-A-Figure. You know, Sandman can increase his size or kind of be like the regular stature. I guess he's a big dude even in his base form, but the fact that you couldn't have regular arms for him was really, really annoying. There was an opportunity for you to customize regular arms by utilizing the arms from the Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure. If you got an extra set of arms, you could kind of swap them on and paint them so you could have a regular short sleeve shirt with his classic green on green t-shirt. There was another Sandman that was basically supposed to be represented as like a all sand version, I guess. This was like a variant. Actually, this was the first one. The other one was the Build-A-Figure that was released after this, but this particular version was released as part of the SDCC Raft box set, and he had the regular arms, but we didn't want this. We didn't want this all sandy version. It was nice to have to do some swaps, I guess, and maybe do some still motion or some different display options, but I think most people really just wanted a normal powered down Sandman, so you know, everything you do doesn't have to be action shots. Still, I must say, again, these all look great together, and to have the team complete and to get it done in a decent amount of time in this new era is pretty commendable. We're about to see a lot of Spider-Man versus Sinister Six action over the next 6 to 8 months in the A.C.B.A Facebook group, on Instagram, on all the boards. And a little bonus, one thing I forgot to show in the last video was this little accessory. It wasn't really an accessory. It was fixed to the hand of the variant Green Goblin from the Onslaught Build-A-Figure wave, the unmasked version that came with this head here. I was able to apply some heat and pry it off of the hand back in those days, so that way you could kind of use this mask as a prop. Unfortunately, on this side, you can still see a portion of the hand on the mask, or the fingers there. But this is a really cool prop nonetheless. You could still use this portion and kind of hang it over a chair. I've used it like that before, so it's a cool prop, and this is something that we need as an accessory or a prop with a Norman Osborn or a Green Goblin. And we also need a mask for Spider-Man in this sort of fashion as well. Alright, I got to get up out of here. Here is a final sort of size comparison with what we have from the wave so far, and some additional figures here. But Lizard Build-A-Figure back there. We've got Gwen Stacy here from this wave. We got Peter Parker, Spider-Man. You can see how he kind of stacks up next to Electro. Electro is bigger. And then we have the Iron Patriot body with the Norman Osborn head from the Green Goblin right next to him from this wave. And Professor X body, which you saw me swap the Norman Osborn head onto. And I would say that Electro is a must own. I mean, you need him if you want to complete your updated Sinister Six, your classic Sinister Six. I would not pass up on this guy. You know, despite the little minor issues that I have with him and some of the other team members, I do really think this is a must own, and overall I think it's a decent figure. All right, thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell down there, and until next time, peace.